The other day, Jeff Bezos did this wonderful thing because he's just so magnanimous and he wants to be defined as a philanthropist and in future annals of history. Jeff Bezos donated $120 million to fight homelessness. Very exciting.
What does that even mean?
He then invested $500 million to make homelessness worse. But on top of that, $120 million that he donated for homelessness to fight homelessness is a drop of his $100 billion. It'd be like you or me donating
$5.
50 cents or something, or $5. So there's no reason he should be celebrated for this.
Thank you. Yeah, no, just the fact that he exists as a billionaire
is offensive.
Well, right. Any billionaire means that they have not done enough to support workers. Just the existence of billionaires.
No, you have to be a sociopath to be a billionaire, because to have that much money. And I used to have a bit about it where I said, you walk into a house and if someone's a hoarder and you see they have a 900 empty pudding cups, you say, oh, well, they're a crazy person. They've got serious problems. But when someone has literally billions of pieces of green paper, most of which, like 99% of which they could never use, like there's just no way to spend that much money.
Right.
We consider them heroes, which is completely twisted and sociopathic. And so the article says at Common Dreams, mega billionaire Amazon founder Jeff Bezos received some praise last week for announcing $120 million in donations to a number of groups fighting homelessness in the United States. He said, quote, "It's a privilege to support these organizations in their aspiring mission to help families regain stability."
Oh,
Just days after word of the charitable gifts, a minuscule drop in the bucket compared to the 170 billion fortune he has, a Bezos-controlled company called Arrived dropped $500 million of new investment into single-family homes with a venture fund that critics warn will make the nation's housing crisis even worse. The fund itself, which is called Single Family Residential Fund, allows investors to purchase portions of various homes and later trade, hold, or redeem these quote-unquote chips on a rolling basis like players at a casino. So basically, most of you know that there's many reasons, but part of the reason there's a housing crisis in the United States, even though there's 17 million empty homes across the entire United States. Part of the reason there's a housing crisis is because investors buy up homes and they want to make a lot of money on them. So they hold the homes hoping prices will go up and they can sell them for a lot more later. And it's not about a family trying to find somewhere to live anymore. It is many of the rich across America just view it as a way to hold their money, as opposed to just dollars in a bank account that could lose value. And so many people invest in homes. There's tons of home flipping and all that shit. And of course, that's created a crisis because all the prices keep going up of houses. People can't afford them anymore. And you have millions across America who can't have a home, but there's 17 million empty houses. So now what he just invested in is a way to make it even easier to invest in this type of property greed. It's so that if you don't have, $300,000 to buy a home and then hold it and see if you can make money later, you can invest just a tiny portion of that and own a piece of a home so that all Americans can become
landlords.
Landlords, but investors in flipping homes or like. And so So, of course, it makes homelessness worse. It makes people not being able to afford a home much worse. His fund dropped $500 million on that. While many Americans, especially younger people and working class families, have been steadily priced out of home ownership by soaring costs and most recently higher interest rates, Arrived preys on the reality by selling the idea that owning a piece of a home as an investment is the American dream. Speculative investors, however, are likely not among those struggling to make ends meet.
Yeah.
But this kind of investment behavior is certain to drive home prices even higher.
Yeah.
So he invests 3 times as much in making homelessness worse as he invests in fighting homelessness. Now, of course, even if he didn't, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, I don't know about the specific organizations that he gave $120 million to, but I'm guessing it's not these grassroots organizations that actually try to uh to serve the unhoused community in a way that grassroots and mutual aid organizations do. There are a lot of NGOs out there that claim that they're working on the homelessness issue, but in
Right.
reality they want to make sure that there are homeless people, otherwise they don't get money and they don't get a salary. It's really sick and twisted, but capitalism demands people be desperate, so
Yeah.
that a lot of these NGOs that work on the homeless issue are just fronts, that really want to make sure that there is a certain amount of homeless people at all times, because otherwise they wouldn't have a job.
And on top of that, even the ones that are legit, which obviously there are people out there, many of them volunteers, but even those who are getting paid, there are many people out there that legitimately, let's say, are helping in one form or another, getting food or something to homeless people. But if you're talking about how to stop homelessness across America, that's just a band-aid on the problem. The actual stopping of homelessness requires a complete overhaul of the systems that create that homelessness, that create that misery.
Mhm.
The market economy forces people into these situations. By the way, something like 50% of all homeless in America are mentally ill or unstable. And so it's forcing those who need the most help into living on the streets while there's 17 million empty homes across the landscape. We live in a post-scarcity world. If the resources were actually allotted so that no one was miserable, no one was struggling, no one was starving, we all the resources are there. We live in a post-scarcity world, but scarcity is what sells things for higher prices, right? You hide all the water and you say, well, now you have to buy bottled water. Well, that's how you make money from it. You don't make money from abundance.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's important also to highlight that all of us are one or two emergencies away from being homeless,
Yeah.
because there's absolutely no support that's embedded in the system. So, just consider your one shitty doctor's visit where you find out you have some illness away from being homeless. Your one, like your one workplace issue, firing or whatever, away from being homeless. And especially as the price of everything continues to rise, more and more people are looking at the reality of being homeless. So I think it's important to also understand that this is not like other people's problems. These are our problems, even just in the very personal sense that we could be homeless at any moment, unless you're like a trust fund kid or some shit. But like in reality, most of us are like one or two
Most people.
emergencies from being homeless.
And what's the percentage? One out of every 3 Americans will have some form of cancer at some point in their
Mhm.
lives. And the studies have shown that 50% of everybody who gets cancer lose their entire life savings.
Oh yeah, like
So,
quickly too.
so, you know, that shows the type of we're all hit by these emergencies, and they can make us homeless or make us struggling to an extreme level. And it's in order to have a system that exploits everyone and steals everything to put into the hands of the richest people, you have to have a pretty good safety net for everyone not to be miserable in order for that kind of theft to go on. And of course, that safety net is essentially gone.